Recently, New World devs put out a 40-minute long video giving us information and details about New World's upcoming expansion. Now, if this is news to you, you're clicking on this video and you didn't know New World has an expansion, it has a paid expansion. It's going to cost $30. It releases on the 3rd of October, and it has some pretty big changes coming to the game, including a level cap increase, mounts, new weapon, revamped zone, and a bunch of other stuff as well. If you want the sort of overview of what's happening in the expansion, check out the video that I'm linking up in the top right now, or in the description down below. And also, if you want to watch the original video of this, this 40-minute long information dump from the devs, you can check that out in the description down below. But today we're going to go over the sort of new stuff that was broken in this video that we haven't previously seen in articles or previous dev videos. Now, the first thing that stood out to me in this video is the devs mentioned that the mounts are going to be tameable. So it looked like from what we saw in the brief gameplay, you would have to like feed the horse food in order to like earn its trust. So how in-depth this system is, we're not entirely sure yet. We're gonna have to wait until the test server to properly play it. But I just, this was a little bit unexpected detail to me. I thought you were just gonna do a quest and then it would give you the mount. But if you actually have to go out into the open world and tame them, this seems pretty cool. I do like this little feature. They also mentioned that the buffs that you get from mounts, first of all, the mount isn't just cosmetic, it will give you character buffs. And those buffs are going to be active when you're dismounted as well. So they are gonna be kind of like permanent character buffs depending on what mount you go with, being the wolf, the lion, or the horse. They also went into a little bit more detail about the loot biasing. So you are now going to get loot in New World depending on what your character is wearing. So if you have a life staff and light armor like I typically would, it would offer you more healing based stuff. Whereas if you're wearing full heavy armor with the sword and shield, or you have a lot of points into strength or constitution, it's going to offer you more bruiser or tank based items, which I think is a pretty cool system all in all. We have a little element of that in New World right now, but fully expanding upon this system. And you can obviously just change your gear and your attributes as you go, and then it's more likely to offer you something based on what your character is currently wearing. That's the loot bias system, and it seems to be coming with the expansion as well. They also did confirm in the video we will be getting new gatherables. There is going to be probably like new ore, new woods, new types of food together. One particular food that they mentioned is bananas. We are going to be able to harvest and pick bananas from trees. The specific types of ore or wood or plants that you can harvest, we didn't get really much past bananas, but bananas are confirmed for New World's expansion. They also give us a little bit more breakdown about how the flail would work in New World. The next new weapon coming into the game is going to be the flail. The left-hand side of the skill tree for the flail is based around healing and buffing your team, and then they said the right-hand side of the skill tree is based around sort of tanking and survivability. So a healing tanking weapon, Scott, one of the lead directors for the game, referenced it as a weapon that would sort of enable paladin and cleric playstyles. This personally has me very excited as somebody who mains healer. I've always played around with the idea of being a tank and healer at the same time, and it seems like they're kind of confirming that this is what this weapon is going to be. So for those of you who have paladin fantasies out there and want to live out that world in New World, the flail seems perfect for that. We also got to see our first ever artifact. There was a little bit of footage of an artifact being shown in the video. I believe in the footage we got to see a helmet called Headband, and they did confirm that in order to unlock subsequent perks with the helmet, you have to do quests. And I believe the quests were fairly straightforward. It was just like kill a certain number of enemies within the zone. You could do that 3 different times. And then there was for the ultimate perk, like the actual unique perk on the item, you had to craft the headband upgrade or so whatever. So I imagine you gotta probably gather a bunch of materials for one of the quests, and then the rest of them just seem to be kill quests. And we can assume this is probably going to be the same with most of the artifacts that we're going to get during the expansion for New World. One thing I also noticed in this video is the artifact was a tier 5 item. A lot of people have speculated because there's a level cap increase and a crafting increase and a gear score increase, there's probably going to be an increase on the tier of items as well. Right now at level 60, we have access to tier 5 items, and it was speculated we're going to go to tier 6, but in this footage, it was still a tier 5 item. The next thing the devs talked about was the nerfing of difficulty for expeditions. So normal expeditions are going to be dropped down into what they call story mode. So effectively, the standard expedition, so you think when the first time you did the depths, for example, a lot of people really struggled with Captain Thorpe, or more recently, although it was still a while ago, Tempest Heart. The first time people did Tempest Heart and they went up against Nishaton, he kicked a lot of people's butts. that probably isn't going to be happening anymore. The normal version of Expeditions is really getting scaled down to a very easy difficulty. However, if you are looking for a bit more of a challenge when it comes to Expeditions, there is now going to be Mutation Difficulty 1, 2, and 3. They're leaving it at there, no longer going all the way up to M10. Mutation Difficulty 1 is kind of going to be like normal difficulty, 2 is going to be hard, and then 3 is going to be like insanely difficult. You know, allegedly. We'll have to see how it plays out, but that's what the devs are sort of suggesting with this revamped difficulty system for Expeditions. At some point through the video, Dave mentioned that when you finish the Elysian Wilds, which is the name of the new or revamped zone, you're probably going to be around 650 gear score, so going all the way up to the new gear score max of 700. Probably going to require doing a bunch of PvP, maybe farming some elite open world areas or doing some dungeons. Effectively, we're not going to get straight to the new gear score max just by finishing the zone. In order to get to the actual max gear score, you're then going to need to do, I don't know, some raiding, some PvP, some crafting, etc. Which makes sense. That's probably how we see, you know, this sort of thing play out on most other MMOs. They also did confirm there's going to be 2 new chest runs. So for those of you who really enjoy chest runs, there's 2 new chest runs in the new zone, one of which is very heavily beast themed. And on the topic of beasts, they did mention that one of the new enemies that you'll find in the new zone, the chameleon, can become invisible, and if you kill the chameleon while it's invisible, you then have to skin it while it's invisible as well, which sounds kind of hilarious and frustrating at the same time. During this 40-minute video, the devs also revealed that there's going to be a new sort of a mini quest chain event kind of thing that you do. From what I can understand, it's kind of similar to what we have in the Brimstone Sands, where in order to do all of the chests and fully explore all of the Brimstone Sands, you need to uncover all of the glyphs. So you need to find the hidden glyphs, which then allow you to interact with certain chests and open certain doors. And you also need to get acid resistance gear in order to be able to get the chests that are inside the acid pools. I think there's going to be a similar sort of system from what they described. They called it the Secret of the Spores. The Secret of the Spores? Yeah, that's it. Where you do like this sort of quest chain where you get a bottle and then you put spores in the bottle, and the more spores you put in the bottle, the more resistances you get to spores within the area. I'm kind of paraphrasing this a little bit, but effectively it sounds like there's going to be a sort of mini side progression that you do to your character in order to allow your character to better explore the Elysian Wilds. You're going to build up your sort of spore resistance by putting more stuff inside the bottle that you get from in the zone. It sounds a bit confusing, but also makes sense in the context of, you know, like, again, you think about the glyphs in Brimstone Sands. If you want to fully explore the open world, you are going to have to do this sort of additional extra side content. Speaking of which, just on this topic, some of the chest runs, you're probably going to see some of the footage on the screen here, but the chest runs in the new zones, there's like jumping puzzles and like sort of floating hidden pathways. They do look pretty cool. Usually I don't really get excited about chest runs. We did far too much of that during the release of New World, but these do actually look pretty cool, pretty fun. Sort of towards the end of the video, they give us a bit more information on the new Heartrune that's coming into the game. So again, if you're somebody who hasn't watched New World in a while, they added these new items into the game called Heartrunes back in the Brimstone Sands release. So this was nearly a year ago now. The Heartrune is effectively just like it's like a weapon, but it only has one ability. You don't even get to attack with it. You just, you know, you press the button and it does the ability. Whereas this Heartrune is actually kind of different. It alters your attack pattern, so you become like a enraged sort of Hulk smash, and you just start punching things with your fists. And they did explain that the more damage you do, the more attacks you get in while you're in Primal Fury mode, the longer the duration of Primal Fury lasts. And then there was like a different version of this Heartrune that you could get that was more tanking based, where as you take damage, it extends the duration of Primal Fury and reduces your incoming damage. So it seems like it has like a sort of DPS and tank version of the Heartrune. Sounds pretty fun. We haven't really seen a Heartrune again that actually gives you a different sort of attack pattern. Usually it's just an ability. So this is quite an unusual Heartrune from what we typically see. I believe it's been confirmed in other articles, but we actually had the devs say this firsthand in the video that Eden Grove, which is one of the neutral zones up in the top of the map, it's the area that's filled with all the angry earth, this is now going to be a claimable zone. So this actually will be an actual settlement. Like your Windsward, your Everfall, your Monarch's Bluff, Eden Grove is now going to be a settlement that can be controlled by players. So the Elysian Wilds, which is the brand new area, not going to be controllable. It is like overrun by the Angry Earth and Adiana, is that how you say it? Artemis. She controls that area down there, but we are getting a new zone to fight over for wars and invasions in the form of Eden Grove. And they also said that for warring companies, you know, the 1% of New World, this is going to be one of the most lucrative areas to own on the map, as they've set like the amount of gold that you get from taxes and stuff is the highest here in Eden Grove, to sort of, you know, maybe artificially encourage people to go towards Eden Grove, but as a result, probably means that this is going to become one of the new crafting hubs and maybe one of the best areas to own a house as well. The final thing of importance that we haven't really heard too much details about was the influence push. So again, this is something that I don't think too many people sadly care about that much, unless you're a PvP or war-oriented player, which I know we don't really have too much of that watch these videos. But if you are interested, open world PvP is getting a bit of a revamp in that, at least when it comes to pushing these zones into conflict. So for those of you who have done war in New World in the past, it's pretty tedious when it comes to trying to get the war declaration. You basically just do PvP missions over and over and over and over again until you build up enough influence, and then you can declare. God, I spent like 3 or 4 hours trying to push Ebonscale into conflict once, just doing the same PvP mission where you run up and stand in a zone and then you run over to some chests. It was truly really miserable, but they've made it so that now there's going to be everyday influence race in 3 different territories is what I've put down. So yeah, like Windsward, Monarchs, and Reekwater on one day, and then the next day it would be like Everfall, Cutlass Keys, and Ebonscale. I think I might have just repeated myself there. But yeah, there's going to be 3 territories up for grabs each day, and for 45 minutes of that day, so I assume it's probably not all happening at the same time, it'd be 45 minutes at different times of the day, that area is basically going to be up for grabs, and you will go and do PvP activities in that area. It sounds like they're really trying to push more open world PvP. How exactly it'll play out, we'll have to wait until we get to play it on the test server. But fingers crossed this is going to work. It sounds like it's going to be a more exciting way to push an area into conflict and get a war declaration than the just run PvP missions endlessly. But that was basically all the details that we got on that for now. The last thing they mentioned is we do have a PTR coming soon. And this PTR is also going to be a short PTR as well, which I think is kind of unusual for me. This is probably the biggest update New World's ever seen. I mean, you know, it's a paid expansion. They're actually charging money for this. It does seem to be a pretty sizable update, and yet they're having a really short PTR. They say this is going to be one of the shorter PTRs that they do. How long is short? Is it only going to be for 24 hours? Is it only going to be for 48 hours? Is it a week? We don't really know, but yeah, PTR is soon, and it is going to be a short PTR. So if you are curious about testing this patch, and I think one thing that's important to note when it comes to testing is you probably won't have to pay to play the test server. I assume you'll probably be able to play the PTR for free. In case you don't know, if you have a copy of New World, you'll also have a copy of New World's Public Test Realm as well. PTR standing for Public Test Realm. You effectively get to test out updates before they go to live. So I think, again, that you're probably going to be able to test this update and try it out before it goes to live. If you want to see some footage of that, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We will have some gameplay here on the YouTube channel. We're also going to be playing it live over on Twitch as well. Have links to the stream in the description down below. But yeah, that was a quick breakdown of the 40-minute big chonka of a video that we got from the devs. If we get any further details, I'll let you guys know. I know a lot of people have questions. What's going to happen with our gypsum, our umbrals, and all of that stuff. There is a few things floating around there, but until it's like 100% confirmed by the devs, I don't want to put that information out. As always, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you go ahead and click the like button, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.